Hello everybody and welcome to a new video. My name is Midway and today we are once again going to be checking out some Age of Origins. Now in today's video we are going to be discussing what you should be taking into account when deciding what troops you want to be training and what troops you want to make your army consist of. So training troops is pretty simple. Once you got your barracks set up right here like I do, you just want to be coming to them and clicking on recruit. Of course, I'm pretty sure you already know that if you've played this game for a little while. And obviously there's many different kinds of troops, so which ones should you be aiming for becomes quite a big question. Now I know personally when I first started playing this game, I was just going for whatever my highest level troop I could possibly afford to train was, and then just trying to get a lot of pretty much every single kind, like for example the rocket launchers, the snipers, the gunners, and the infantry whatnot. So now that was not the right way to do it, but as I did not know better, that's what I chose to do, and it didn't really take me too far to realize that I was just having way too many losses when attacking. Now, one thing you will learn from this video is that you can minimize your losses if you build a proper army and if you choose the right perks for the army you want to be building. So now what I was told by my guildmates is that you want to personally be focusing on one kind of troops. And the reason for that is because you cannot really be researching everything. So as you might see here, I am researching a lot of stuff, and most of these things will be focusing on improving one specific type of troop. That way I will be maximizing the damage that I can do with my troops. In particular, here I am choosing to go for the long range weapon damage and long range HP, and that's because what I'm training is mainly long range troops. Those will be the big blunt of my force in my army and will be the ones on the back line, which I will be talking about soon, the positioning of troops, which will be very secure and therefore will not be dying often. So as you might see, I have long-range weapons, long-range HP. Long-range weapons will give me some increased attack with my long-range troops. Long-range HP will give me more HP with my long-range troops. And same thing will happen with long-range defense, will give me more defense. And now I'm training my long-range weapons too, which is going to give me even more extra damage with my long-range troops. Now the same thing I've done with my commander skills right here. You can focus on specific types of troops in this section as well, and as you see here, I did exactly the same here. I put everything into long range attack and I got some damage bonus from that. I got some long range speed from that. I also got the long range defense from that, and then I am now focusing on my long range attack number 2. So I'm just putting all those eggs into the long range troop basket, which basically amounts to, once you go to the stats section right down here, you will see that I have a lot of long range attack, long range defense, and long range HP. Now these values are also amped up now because I got some buffs active right now because I was doing some event. So this would be a little bit lower, but I would still have about 104% or something like that. So I would still have a lot of extra damage with my long range attacks, extra defense, and extra HP with all the long range troops. Now I talked about before a little bit about positioning, and let me go ahead and check my army real quick. So the armies consist of, they have 3 different types of troops that can go on 3 different positions. You have the frontal position or the melee position, then you have the mid-range position or the middle position, and then the backline, where, as you can see, I have the biggest amount of my troops. Now the troops will be fighting each other once you go into battle with your enemies. They will be attacking each other. Let's just go ahead and battle something. Let me go ahead and find some zombie, but they will be attacking first. The enemy will be attacking your melee troops, your frontal troops, that is, and the same thing will happen with your own troops. They will be attacking the enemy's melee troops, so those ones will be the ones to be dying first. So same thing will happen if I just go and attack a zombie right here and I send everything. Basically I'll just choose 100%. It'll take a little while to get there, and we will probably not see anything, but we can just check out the replay after that. What will happen is that, yeah, the melee troops will fight the melee troops, and then they will fight the mid-range troops, and finally they will fight the long-range troops. Now, if you are focusing and the biggest amount of troops in your army is long-range troops or consists of long-range troops, there you go, that's my little boat right there. I got some settings to make it smaller. I just killed it. Basically, if the blunt of your force is on the back line, if the enemy is not strong enough to get in time to your backline, you will probably get a lot less losses out of that. So, as you can see on this video replay, we'll just put it on +2. The zombies will be attacking first my front range troops, which I have a lot of, but I don't have that many, so they're gonna be dying. And once they are starting to get to my long range troops right here, my snipers and my cannons, by that time, those have already been able to do a lot of damage, and they will still be able to do so while they are being attacked, because they are also buffed by everything that I've put into them. That's how you are able to kill a lot of enemies without taking that many losses. Now, there's also things that you want to be taking into account when building your own troops and your own army, and that is the setup you want to be sending your army with. So if you go to the fleet, or rather, yeah, you go to the fleet and choose your little fleet right here. Okay, for example, number 2, I think mine is, it's not set up on this. Okay, so what I would do is I would want to basically put everything that I have from my long range troops, so basically every sniper, which is the one of the long range troops units. If you want to see what is front, what is mid, and what is long, you can just go ahead and do that. So let's do that, for example, right here. I basically put everything that is long range here. I'll just max that out all the way, and then I'll be putting only a single unit of every other troop. So I can do that with this ones. I actually can't because they're maxed out already. But if I go to front, I can only, for example, put a single unit of that, and a single unit of that, and a single unit of basically everything else that is max level. I only want to be putting max level troops. Low level troops are pretty useless. They will just die instantly. So that's why you only want to be putting one of every single unit type at max level. Once you get to the lower levels, you just ignore those and keep going. And right here, I'll do the same. Now I have some space, so I can do that. I can add 1 unit of all those other ones, 1 unit of each, and that's how I save my setup. I have a number 3. That's what my army is going to be consisting of. So now when you send that army to battle, what's going to happen is that the enemy will have to go through the single unit of your front, your mid-range troops, and finally it will eventually get to your long-range troops. Now, of course, your front and mid troops will be very weak. They will only have 1 unit, but that 1 unit will be enough for the enemy to have to do the whole attack animation or waste a bullet onto that troop. Meanwhile, your backline is going ham and doing a lot of damage. That's how you minimize losing units. And by the time the enemy gets to your backline, not only is your backline going to be very strong and very beefy, it's going to have done a lot of damage, and probably the enemy will already be pretty much done. Now, once you mix this with attacking with multiple other allies with your alliance, that's going to make it so that you will minimize your losses. Now, one thing that I forgot about is the zombies. You also want to be only sending 1 zombie of the max level, so that you also don't lose a lot of them. And you of course want to be sending everything about your titans and your warship. You can send everything, because that's also going to be in the backline. Now, once it comes to the actual training, lots of things to take into account, of course, and most of them will be having to do with your resource levels. If you go to the military section, you will find things like draft, which increases your recruitment speed. You want to be maxing those out if you want to just be pumping out a lot of troops. Same goes for leadership. Increase max limit of your fleet. It's gonna make your fleet just be able to have more stuff. As you could see there before, once I was doing my fleet, I just did not have enough space for more troops. Same thing goes here with, not this one exactly, but draft 2, more recruitment speed, leadership 2, more fleet units, and same thing goes on and on and on. You want to be having that space so you can get bigger fleets and recruit more troops quickly. So there you go. You also have the expansion perks right here, expansion 2, which is going to be increasing the maximum amount of recruitment that you can do at a time. So once you go to your barracks here and click on a unit, you will be able to train them bigger amounts of bigger quantities at a time. It does not really change anything if you were to always be training something, and at the time one of the training batches is finishing, you just were to start another one. But if that's not the case and you're going to have some downtime, it's best to just train more or bigger amounts of troops at a time, so you don't have to be right there once that ends. Now, once that's done, you basically obviously just want to be training those troops that we talked about. So let me just speed up this real quick. We're using my perks right there. And basically, you want to be only training the maximum amount of the maximum level of troops you can afford. In this case, if that is the long range troops that you're going for, you're putting all your buffs onto the long range troops. So by the way, you could also focus on front range troops or mid range troops. You could also do that, but the long range troops are always going to be giving you the biggest results when it comes to survivability because of what we already talked about. If that's the case, you only want to be focusing on training long range troops. So that's exactly what I'm be doing here. The biggest or the highest level snipers that are the long range troops that you can get from this type of barracks. That's the one that I'm going to be able to get, level 8 sniper. So that's exactly the only thing that I'm going to be training right here. I'm just going to be making sure that that is being leveled up. Same thing goes here for the cannons. I'll speed up this ones, but once you go to these other types of barracks, you go to the max level troop you can afford, and then you see if it's a front range troop or it's a long range troop, or if it's a mid-range troop. So what type of long-range troop can I train on these barracks? That is the cannons. So that's exactly what I'm going to be doing. I'm going to be training the max level cannons that I can afford. Of course, if you get a new level or a new tier of the same type of troop, then you can upgrade that by going to this building right here, where you can level up your previous level or your lower level troops. In this case, I don't have any more long range troops to upgrade here, but I can still choose to upgrade some of the troops. For example, I could do some rocket launchers here. I could just spend some money and increase the level of my rocket launchers, which are still going to be counting towards my overall fleet power, because you don't really want to be wasting the potential of training troops. You can also go ahead and train troops on these other barracks, in this case called the workshop. Here I am choosing to train my shock troopers, but you can also go ahead and check out what's the long range troops. Here is a shielders, so you can also go ahead and get those, although you don't want to be cluttering your fleet with sort of useless troops here. The shielders are not that impactful, but you can also choose to go ahead and train some of those. I'll go ahead and do that. I was choosing to train some stormtroopers, that's why I got quite many of them. Remember, you always rather have something training, even though it's not the type of troop you're focusing on, because that's going to be amounting to your overall level or power level of your fleet, and that's going to be very handy for unlocking new buildings and new parts of your own city. Also, PvE content and events, like for example battling monsters. No matter what type of troop it is, if it's going to be increasing your level of power from your army, that's going to be counting towards the power you have to killing enemies like zombies, because the fleet level, the fleet size, I don't think it's being taken into account in that scenario. But in any case, we can go ahead and find real quick by just going to a monster, choosing that monster, choosing attack, and then you scroll down and see, is there anything that's capped? Well, I cannot put any more yet, because my fleet level is now totally at max capacity. So yeah, you don't want to be really wasting any resources training useless stuff, but at the same time, yeah, you might as well just be training stuff, because you'd rather get power out of those buildings rather than wasting it. But if it's not what you're focusing on with your buffs, take into account that those troops are probably not going to be as strong as they could be. So those are the tips that I have for you when choosing what type of troops you want to be training. Of course, training the actual troops is very easy. Just go ahead and spend some resources training the troops, but it's very important to choose the right kind of troop and to build your whole army and your whole city around chasing some specific perks, so you can maximize the power of the right troops and therefore minimize losses, and so on and so forth. Now, obviously, talking about minimizing losses is going to be very important to also level up your hospital and level up your medic station, so you can get more and more wounded and therefore lose less troops when you're doing some PvP. But that's about it, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did so, please go ahead and check the description of this video and click the link there to download Age of Origins, and use my code to get some free stuff if you've created your account after I did mine. So that's about it, guys. I'll see you on the next video. Bye bye. See ya.